Canada is more similar to Iraq, Afghanistan, India, Somalia every day than it is Canada just 20 years ago. It's truly shocking, the demographic shifts that we've seen in this country. Over 8 million immigrants allowed in under 10 years. Unprecedented growth, particularly in a country that only has 32 million people, thanks to Justin Trudeau's woke policies. What's most shocking to me is this is revealed that Canada's so-called democracy is a total farce. The most recent public polling shows that 75% of Canadians say too much immigration. We can't afford it anymore. You will not find a more overwhelming consensus on any issue. 75% is as overwhelming as it gets. And what does our government do, led by Mark Carney? Total continuation of what Justin Trudeau has done for the past decade. Said in 2025 alone, we're going to allow another 1 million immigrants in the country between permanent and part-time immigrants. It's truly shocking, and it shows what a farce our democracy has become. There are a small set of elites at the top of our system who it's greatly beneficial to have immigrants coming in, so they continue to allow them to come in. This despite the fact that in Canada in particular, the effects have been disastrous. Our housing market in Canada is worse than anywhere in the world. It is an absolute catastrophe for middle and lower class Canadians. Economic data, our middle and lower class have been blown out. They just measured GDP per capita growth over the past 10 years. Guess where Canada ranked out of 50 countries? 50th, dead last. This despite being one of the most resource-rich countries in the entire world. Our healthcare system, you hear about Canada having so-called public healthcare, a total catastrophe. I personally know 2 people who passed away who absolutely did not have to pass away because of our overwhelmed healthcare system. And this is just common sense. You flood 8 million people into the country in a decade. Of course your public services are going to suffer. It's a no-brainer. It's so obvious that it's going to happen. But our global elites, our liberal elites in charge, if you criticize racism, if you criticize immigration at all, what does their response have to be? They just have to yell, oh, you're a racist, oh, you're a xenophobe. And the conversation gets shut down. This despite the fact, like I said, there's statistic after statistic after statistic on how our country has gotten worse. You look at violent crime rates, crimes against women, petty theft. Everything is up massively. As I said, all economic indicators are Canada is doing worse and worse and worse. Making minimum wage now in Canada, the growth is something like 6% compared to making minimum wage in 1985. Unless you're an upper class Canadian, Mark Carney's buddies at Brookfield with connections to WF and Davos, or a global elite, you're doing much worse off than you were a couple of decades ago. And I'm not saying that immigration is the only variable that matters, but it's certainly massive. When in a country of 32 million, you grow it to over 41 and a half in just over a decade. That's an unprecedented shock to the system. And Canadians are standing up and saying, no, we see it on our streets every day. You can't walk anywhere without crack smoke being in your face. I live a couple blocks away from Parliament, from our Parliament building, and it's a total shit show. We've now seen in Ottawa, if you haven't seen my viral videos, go check them out on my page. We now see protests on a near daily basis for conflicts halfway around the world. Violent mobs walking around our streets, screaming in our faces, wearing masks, putting fake body bags on the floor, putting fake blood on their hands. Just these are not your standard Canadian protests. Let me tell you that. I've observed them up close for the past 2 years. These are far from your standard Canadian protests, and a hell of a lot of the people who are showing up at these protests are immigrants. That's who they are. And it's so shocking to me that they want to come to Canada and then try to force their values on us. If I were to go ever to immigrate to another country, it's common sense. I may not necessarily agree with it, but you follow the traditions, the norms of the society that you move to. But it's the exact opposite that we're seeing here. The exact opposite. We're seeing people trying to force their religious values on us. Many of them come from countries where women aren't allowed to leave the house without written permission from a man. Gays are thrown off buildings and killed in many of these countries. That's literally in the law in the Middle East. Death sentences for saying anything blasphemous against the law. Those are the laws in these countries, and they come here and they are not friendly to Western civilization. Yet the liberals, if you criticize them in any way, will say, oh, you're a racist, oh, you're a xenophobe. It's so pathetic and it's such a joke. I'm organizing rallies. I put in requests to the city of Ottawa for Saturday, September 13th, and I'm going to try to do another one on Saturday, September 27th, because despite the fact, like I said, that it's so overwhelming that 75% of Canadians say, enough, we can't withstand any more immigration. Mark Carney and Liberals don't listen to us. Like I said, the democracy here is a total sham, a total joke. Democracy is supposed to mean the will of the people. In no way is that what we're getting in Canada. In no way is that what we're getting in Canada. So we have to hit the streets and make our voices known. If you're interested in supporting me, I have a countdown clock to our first rally. Hit the link in my bio. Donate. Every donation is going to go towards getting posters up throughout Ottawa. A couple of FOI requests I have in with the government, which cost money, promoting these rallies, because we have to physically get out on the streets, or else nothing's going to happen. It's just a fact, nothing's going to happen. So we actually have to go and do it ourselves. Please like, subscribe, share this content, because I know there's a hell of a lot of Canadian patriots who are sick, fed up, and ready to do something about it.